Good afternoon and welcome to the rain and the thunderstorms that we're having here where I live. I hope you enjoy this video, which will be about ground covers for shade and for hot sun. I have some suggestions for you if you have areas of your yard that you would like to utilize this type of plant for. So we're going to jump into this video and see some of the examples of plants that I think that you would enjoy in your garden like I do in mine. Let's get started. Hens and chicks are one of the most darling little ground covers you can buy. And as you can see in this picture, the hen is the big one in the center, and it has little chicks that grow off all around it. And those can all be replanted in new areas. Now here is a photo of hens and chicks while they are in bloom, and after they're done blooming you can go ahead and trim them off. Lastly, I wanted you to know that you can plant them in pots, and of course they are quite cold hardy, which is wonderful for my location here in the mountains. So when you're looking for something that is a succulent and something that will grow well in cold climates, hens and chicks are hardy to zone 3, which makes them quite tough. My next suggestion are creeping sedums. Now you have to be a little bit careful with them and make sure that you purchase ones that are hardy to zone 3 if you are in a cold climate, otherwise they will not survive the winter. They come in various colors, blues and greens, chartreuse. They are just full of very lovely colors, and they do bloom. Depending on the variety, you'll get different colors of blooms. If you are purchasing creeping thyme, be certain to get at least a zone 4 for the cold climates again. And creeping thyme does bloom with these beautiful pink flowers. They can take moderate foot traffic and are quite aromatic like the herb thyme that we eat. Next we have lamb's ears with this silvery, very soft foliage that feels like the ears of a baby lamb. And it's a nice variety for a ground cover in your garden. It also produces pink blooms that are very attractive to pollinators. And this is a zone 4 plant that is very drought tolerant. Perfect for a dry garden. Next, let me introduce ice plant, which is a very wonderful sun-loving plant for a ground cover that does spread out, and it looks very nice as a ground cover. It comes in varying colors of flowers. Here you see pink and yellows, but I have sort of almost a rusty colored variety as well in my backyard, and it does quite well without too much water, fairly drought tolerant, and it loves sandy soil too. Next we have a darling little plant called pussy toes, and you can see by the flowers in this first picture that they do look like the toes of a little kitten. And pussy toes are very tough in the sun. They can form a dense mat and are a native with this very pretty silver foliage, which I find to be just gorgeous. I think you will like them in your garden. I'm out in my front yard right now where I have this garden that has a pinyon pine growing in the front area, and then behind it is this royal raindrops crabapple tree, which is just getting ready to bloom. It has so many buds on it, it's just incredible. Here's one of the blooms that you can see which has opened, but we're really here to talk about shady ground covers that do well in all very deep shade actually. So I'm gonna move in here, this area right here closer up, so you can see my common vinca vine here. You can see here it does get a tiny bit of dappled shade, but look how vigorous it is growing here in this dark shady spot. And it spreads quite readily. And let me show you, you might be able to see there are a few tiny buds, but here are a couple of the tiny blue buds that you can see in the springtime. And there's a close-up of the leaves, what they look like, and they spread, as I said, quite readily. They grow long vines, and the vines actually develop roots in their new area. So this is a fantastic ground cover for shade. You might want to think about trying it in your garden. This vine is also called Vinca minor, or sometimes periwinkle. And here you can see a blooming patch of the periwinkle, or the common vinca vine, or vinca minor. It is drought tolerant, zone 4. It can be invasive, so you might have to watch it. Does a good job as a ground cover. This next plant is called Creeping Jenny, and it is quite a vigorous grower. I know people in areas that have more moisture have trouble containing it and use it only as a container plant, but where I live it is quite easy to contain because we are so dry. So that would work for you if you do live in a more arid climate. Now it comes in two colors, golden creeping Jenny, and then the more common green creeping Jenny that you see here. Here is a patch of bearberry. Sometimes, where I live at least, it's called kinnikinnick, and it is a native plant that likes dappled or partial shade. It is zone 2 and does well also in sandy soil. In the fall, it grows red berries. The berries provide food for wildlife, but are also edible for humans. Here you can see my ajuga, that is the variety called chocolate chip. And I love this semi-bronzy foliage that it gets, as well as these delightful blooms when the springtime arrives. And of course I planted this with just one small, like 2.5-inch pot. It's been here, this is the 3rd year. Last year it got beaten up pretty badly by our hail, but I think it's gonna just take off this summer. So think about this as a ground cover for your garden as well in the shade. Now, ajuga can be found in several different foliage colors, which look very bright and pretty in the shade. This one is called multicolor. And then in the second photo, this is called bronze ajuga. Look at those gorgeous leaves. This photo shows a large patch of sweet woodruff, which is one of my favorite shade plants. If you have a large shade area that needs to be covered with some really pretty, delicate plants, sweet woodruff is for you. And here you can see a close-up of the tiny white blooms that it gets in the springtime. Now, sweet woodruff is a zone 4 plant and does like moist soil to really be healthy and vigorous in its growing conditions. Our last shade plant for this video is called Lamium, and this one right here that you see in the first picture is Lamium maculata. Now, Lamium is cold hardy to zone 3. It provides flowers in the springtime, which is added interest, and it does spread slowly outward from the original plant and provides beautiful color for your shade garden. Lamium comes in lots of different varieties of leaf color, shape, and design. So on the second to the last photo here, we have a variety called Beacon Silver. And then the very last photo is actually called Shell Pink. All of these varieties would look fabulous in your shade gardens. I'd like to thank you for stopping by my channel today, and I really hope this video has been helpful for you. And have a wonderful day today. This is Mary saying bye for now.